There is coronavirus, and then there is Tiger King, and nothing else.
I saw Tiger King, and everyone on Tiger King, I have a question for you. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I am never gonna financially recover from this.
That's how we take care of right there, buddy.
About to start a GoFundMe account for Joe. He shall be free.
That there is a great rain is gonna come. A great rain's coming, and it's gonna be a purple rain. It's a purple rain, so it's gonna have Prince, and it's gonna have them purple people eaters. And if you want to know something about people eating, ask Carole Baskin.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's Rachel here, and today we're going to be talking about the Tiger King. It has been long awaited on my end, at least. I know I haven't really been posting, but I wanted to give at least my opinion about everything going on with the situation. It's not facts by any means. It is mainly my opinion and deep dive research I've done, so you don't have to. We're going to be looking at a Reddit AMA from someone who had actually worked there, some videos, and actually it appears that Joe has done a short interview with Netflix from prison as well. So we're just going to go through a few of these videos, and then you can formulate your own opinion. I'm going to be telling you what I personally think, and let's get started. Alright, so really quick, if you haven't seen Tiger King, I'm going to tell you the premise. I'm sure most of you have, so we're going to keep it short. It is a documentary that just aired on Netflix following the exploitation of big cats. Big exotic cats, meaning like tigers, lions, even ligers are in here, quickly turns into something way weirder and much more intriguing. It involves murder and straight up chaos. The main player in the story is named Joe Exotic. I'm sure you've seen all the memes. He's a country-singing, gun-toting gay man with 2 husbands, and he's fighting his mortal enemy named Carole Baskin, aka that Carole Baskin, who's the owner of a place called Big Cat Rescue that is actually run as a non-profit by sponsors. Actually, I found out that Jaguar, yes, the car company, sponsors Carole Baskin. So what happens is he pretty much is caught trying to take her out by hiring a hitman. So it was a murder for hire plot, and he is now in jail. So the reason the story is so intriguing is there are a lot of parallels between Joe Exotic and Carole Baskin. They're complete opposites in every sense of the word. And Carole Baskin sees everything that she's doing as a very kind of glorified thing because she's not actually breeding, the cats and tigers. So she calls her place a sanctuary, whereas Joe's is a zoo. To me personally, the only difference I see is that she's not breeding them, which yes, it is admirable, but she's still profiting off of them. I do appreciate the fact that she is not breeding these cats, but at the same time, she's getting free labor. She has a bunch of sponsors and a bunch of money from it, and the problem I have is that she's seeing herself as so much better than Joe's, while she's still profiting. So I don't necessarily agree with everything Joe's doing either, but he's more upfront about it, which I think is why, people in the documentary, or who have seen the documentary, have a little bit more respect for him. And it's twisted, because it's not justifying anything he's done, obviously. But to sit there and, say this person's doing these things wrong because of X, Y, and Z, well, you're kind of doing the same things, except you're not paying your workers, is also exploitation of those people, as well as those cats. There are a few things that I was interested in as well. So a lot of people, and myself included, and even Jenna Marbles on her podcast, were asking, well, if Carole really cares, why can't she just take the cats that she's rescued and set them free in the wild? But after doing some research, it actually dawned on me, and also, just made more sense. You can't do that. If you have domesticated cats who are big cats that have been used to a certain way of life, and then all of a sudden you let them out in the wild, these people have been hunting these cats that have been hunting their whole lives, they're not used to that environment. It's not safe either to let them out in the wild. So that made more sense to me. Anyways, now we're going to cover a third person named Doc Antwol, who enters the story. He has a zoo as well. To me, it's almost cult-like.
Families outside of creating.
You're leading me down a road where people are just going to say you have to join a cult to be a tiger trainer.
It's a little bit crazy. He has a bunch of girls working for him. They have to act a certain way, dress a certain way, wear a certain way, which is fine. You can do polygamy and all that, but the problem I have with it is when it seems pressured, where you feel like you can't get out. And, there's some interviews in the documentary that talk about that. Joe has the same thing. He marries 2 straight men and is fueling their drug habit, which is also pretty messed up. Okay, so before we get into the meat and potatoes of why you're all here, which is most definitely Carole Baskin and the whole plot surrounding her husband's disappearance, I'm going to go through some fun facts I actually found out about the documentary that they don't show on Netflix during my deep dive. So there are a few things here. A lot of them did come from David Spade interviews. He, also known as Joe Dirt.
The first person I thought that was guilty was Carole Baskin.
As a celebrity, and he did conduct some home interviews during the quarantine with almost every kind of cast member. That includes Jeff Lowe, John Finley, even Rick Kirkman. So some of the things that I did find out through that, as well as through a Reddit AMA with someone who used to work for Joe Exotic, are these. So obviously, sure most of you know, but in case you don't, he did not sing his own country songs. That was not his voice. The actual real creators of those songs were Vince Johnson and Danny Clinton. So regardless of Joe Exotic saying in a clip in the car that he loves listening to his own voice, he was lip syncing. Vince Johnson and Danny Clinton wrote his songs, and the worst part is they were not paid for it. Joe Exotic had said that the music would most likely be picked up by a reality show he was making, and they're pitching it to Animal Planet, Discovery, and National Geographic. Obviously, none of that happened because the footage was destroyed, but hopefully they're getting their due respect now with all the Tiger King chaos, so go check them out if you haven't. The next thing is Joe Lowe allegedly beat and strangled his ex-wife, and apparently he was also sued by Prince for selling merchandise with Prince's logo on it. So he's done a few crazy things. That was happening before he met Joe Exotic, but still allegedly happened. The Reddit thread AMA, it also says something about kind of the pay, because a lot of people are really hazy and saying, wow, they were paid pennies, which is true. At first, he said that Joe Exotic offered $150 a week, which is kind of next to nothing, but as you proved yourself and went on, you made more. This Reddit AMA user actually went on to make $600 a week with free room and board and did not have any bills to pay. He was saying park managers would make up to $1,000 a week, which is more than I'm making. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's great, but I'm just saying compared to, you know, Carole Baskin, who's not paying the volunteers, I kind of see where the hypocrisy lies. I'm not saying I don't like her. She doesn't breed the cats. There are some things, but I'm just pointing that out because a lot of people have the misconception that they were paid $100, $150 a week the whole time they were there. A lot of them were, you know, ex-convicts, people who didn't really have anything else or anywhere else to go in their life. So seen as a good deed, but take that as you will. It's your own opinion. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the AMA user, same thing, actually helped out PETA in an investigation. He was actually ratted out by his ex-fiance, apparently, to Joe. He had to give a sworn statement. I actually have some footage from that as well for evidence.
Do you remember signing a confidentiality agreement between the GW Exotic Animal Foundation and you in 2008?
Yes.
Did PETA offer to pay you to be a spy within our organization?
Yes.
It was in 2006. PETA gave him a camera to go in there and kind of document things and use him as a spy as well as a worker. They didn't really cover that in the documentary, although he says that they wish they did. He also does say he kind of regrets doing that as well because when he worked there, there was really no animal abuse. Joe did have good intentions. He thinks later on, in 2007, 2008, when they started doing the mall shows with the cats, is when it got a little bit more about money and fame. Another thing that happened in 2006, Rick Kirkman, who was the director who kind of helped Joe in starting making his reality show, doing his online shows, as well as getting footage for an actual reality show before the footage was allegedly burned, made a documentary called TV Junkie, chronicling his life and his battle with an addiction to crack cocaine. So during that whole time, everyone was kind of, you know, allegedly doing drugs, a little bit out of their minds. So it could explain some of the fights that kind of went on there. It could also explain Rick Kirkman allegedly burning the warehouse down with the alligators and, you know, the studio, or Joe Exotic doing that as well. Who knows? So anyways, the kind of weird thing is the alligators were allegedly belonging to Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch. Only some of them, but apparently a lot of them, according to John Finley in his David Spade interview, came from there. Don Lewis, who was Carole Baskin's husband that went missing, that, you know, everyone's talking about, his granddaughter made a TikTok alleging to the fact that Carole Baskin murdered him. So that's also very interesting as well. Okay, so now we are finally here. So, Carol Baskin, let's talk about her. Besides the obvious hypocrisy that I personally see, we're just going to go over some opinions of mine. I'm not saying these as facts. Please don't come for me. This is just my opinion. You're entitled to your own opinion.
Well, what are you doing over here? What is Big Cat Rescue? Like, what are you actually doing? What does your facility look like? What is your mission? How much do you pay your employees? Oh, none?
I have an issue because she doesn't really pay her volunteers. They've said literally, you know, one of the ones on interview said she works 6 days a week, 12-hour days. A lot of them said they don't get holidays. And they're all doing it literally for a different color shirt. It's literally like going to karate and getting a black belt, but doing it every single day and working like more than 40 hours a week to do it.
So it's a purple belt, so.
So? I beat up black belts. Yeah.
How'd you know they were black belts?
They told me after.
Like, I appreciate the volunteers. I think it's a great thing they're doing, and I think they really genuinely believe they're doing it, but it also feels a little bit culty to me because she's making millions of dollars from all these sponsors that she is getting. She has millions of dollars from Don Lewis's disappearance / alleged possible murder. You know, and then she's using this money over and over and over to start a fight with Joe Exotic, who doesn't have the money or the means. This in no way makes him a victim because he has done terrible things, also including kind of luring, I would say, men that he knew, admittedly, were straight for his own kind of personal agenda. It is a very narcissistic and gross thing to do. John Finley also did mention that none of them were legally married. Him and Travis, you know, the whole pink wedding thing, it wasn't actually real, allegedly. That's what he said in the David Spade interview.
Just to clear the record, me and Joe were never legally married, ever.
So, who knows? But I'm just pointing that out. But there's just so much more behind it. But I will probably cover that in another video. This one is going to be mainly about that effing Beyond Carol Baskin. Okay, so the obvious things to point out were her interviews. There was just something off. The whole early thing seems so rehearsed.
Be sure and get the Costa Rica truck ready because he was leaving early in the morning for Miami. And that was the last thing that he said to me. The last thing he said to me was that he needed me to have Kenny get a truck ready because he was going early, he said.
Or maybe she's just a little cuckoo, who knows? But her using that same phrasing years and years later kind of seems really rehearsed, in my personal opinion. Also laughing. I know people deal with things differently, but she would laugh almost when she was talking about his death or disappearance, like, oh, that's ridiculous, and laugh it off as it's absurd. More than a nervous laugh. I mean, it could have been nervous, but more than like a sad nervous laugh. It was just like nervous.
That I ran him through that grinder, and it's like, I couldn't run his hand through the grinder, much less his body. It was in the ground, it was operational. Judy had moved into the property before Don ever disappeared, so how would I have then put him in the septic tank?
She doesn't really show remorse. The things she says in her interviews, instead of like, oh, I'm missing my husband, this and that, are more along the lines of like, oh, now, you know, there's no way I can prove that I didn't do it.
There's no way that I can finally say, see, I didn't do it. There's no way that I can finally say, see, I didn't do it.
The whole thing having disappearance written in the will is just weird. She was saying kind of like, he said he's going to Costa Rica and people disappear there and mafia trading. That could be true, but why at that point wouldn't it say death or disappearance?
That the power of attorney says upon my disappearance. Is that normal verbiage?
I have, in 37 years, never seen it say or disappearance.
And apparently he was burying his money and was really protective of it and all of this stuff. Why would he leave all his money to her? Unless he was taken in a disappearance, that's possible. Who knows? But I'm saying if he just disappeared to like run, he wouldn't have left his money. If he just disappeared and got taken, then there needs to be more investigating because his van was there with the keys to the airport, openly marked. He was saying like his pilot's license and this and that, even though it was suspended at the time. There's just like too many weird things going on that they should have covered it differently. Her going to the store at 3 in the morning. I mean, her brother being on the police team. I mean, come on, you know what I mean? There's like, either it's a really, really unfortunate coincidence for her, although she might have got away with it, or she's just guilty, you know? Another thing that was interesting. So she had a husband before who actually tried to get a restraining order against her, but something went wrong. I believe they said there was no like physical proof that he could be harmed by her. Had come out later and said that she said dead bodies don't speak, and that was written on the actual restraining order, which I will put up here. Her first husband, she was 17, he was actually their boss when he got married. She claimed he was abusive and ended up divorcing him and marrying Don Lewis. Don Lewis was married at the time, I'm sure you saw, so they both had affairs and ended up marrying each other. Also, the note that Don gave to Anne literally saying, like, she's doing this, like, look into it, is a little bit weird, don't you think? But I don't know. She also declined a lie detector test. I find that suspicious. Wouldn't you want to clear your name? That's what she keeps saying. I can never clear my name. Well, that's one way to do it. Lie detector tests are not always right. It's true. You can easily cheat one. So, on the opposing side of that, there are some things that we can clear up about Carole Baskin. In the documentary, they talk about the meat grinder.
You know, you have to take a DNA swab at a meat grinders. They had been removed before his disappearance.
They also talk about the septic tank.
And check the septic tank. That's where he's at. The septic tank wasn't installed until years after his disappearance.
So those things don't really add up, which is why I think in interviews she's so easy to be able to say that and clear those two things, because it wasn't those two things. A weird thing that she does say is when she's talking about the sardine oil, like she already knows how to get a tiger to be on somebody. I know the editing might be a little funky and they kind of make it seem like that to make her seem more villainous.
If I were gonna, if somebody wanted to kill you, then they would put like sardine oil all over you.
So, I also just found a Reddit AMA by someone who worked at Big Cat Sanctuary with Carole Baskin. To be fair, she has nothing but great things to say about the place. Her volunteer work, she's very happy with it. She didn't find it culty at all. In relation to the question that was asked in this thread, it says, question of the sanctuary, did Carole feed Dawn to the tigers? She replies, not a chance. The largest of our cats eat roughly 18 pounds of food a day. There's no way that cat could eat an entire body in a short amount of time and leave no trace of evidence. Just to do some research, I'm going to Google how many pounds. Various field studies have estimated that mature wild tigers and lions consume 10 and 25 pounds of prey a day, between 4 or 7% of their body fat. So I guess it is true. I mean, if, allegedly he was murdered by Carole Baskin, it's unlikely that, she'd be able to get rid of the body that fast unless it was multiple cats at once, or who knows. So this Reddit AMA user who has worked for Big Cat Sanctuary also says 1,200 square feet is the size for smaller cats. Now, just using my apartment for example, it's probably about 900 square feet. So they have more room than I do. At the same time, they do have to run around. They are cats. Yeah, 1,200 square feet is the size for smaller cats. The large cats have much more space than that. I mean, it's more than I'm having in quarantine. She also does say, someone asks, gun pointed to your head, if you had to work for either Joe Exotic or Doc Antle, she says she would pull the trigger. But if she had to, she says, Joe is very upfront about what he does, Doc is not, which seems much more scary to me. Which is ironic, because to me, that sounds kind of like Carole. I mean, she doesn't have a harem of woman or anything like that. And she's not sexually pressuring anyone, which is more than I can say for Joe or Doc. Alright, so as I was editing this, there are a few things I'd like to mention. The Reddit AMA about Carole Baskin's Big Cat Rescue has been deleted. So all the stuff that said, who knows if it's credible, who knows if it wasn't to begin with, or just sharing opinions, it is now gone. The other one from Joe Exotic is still there, it's still up and running. I'm going to put the link down below so you can check it out. Also, I found out that they're doing a scripted mini-series based on Robert Moore's podcast, not the actual Netflix documentary. However, again, it is going to be scripted. Apparently, Kate McKinnon from Saturday Night Live is going to be an executive producer and also is going to be playing Carole Baskin. So we can all take our bets on who we think would go well and all the other characters as celebrities. I know David Spade did a few interviews where people are asked what celebrities they would like to be if picked. I'm not going to go ahead and get into that. Another thing that I also saw on Reddit. So I think it was in Tampa when Carole Baskin was walking and she talked about how she met her husband, Don. What I actually heard, or what everyone from Tampa is saying allegedly, is that Nebraska, the street she was walking down, is notorious for being a place where alleged ladies of the night, if you catch my drift, walk down. So they are saying that she might have been doing that for other reasons, if you catch my drift. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get sued, but they were pretty much saying that, you know, if she was walking down the street, he pulled over. That's exactly what happened. I'm just saying that actually makes a lot more sense than her gun to the head story and whatever they did in the truck. It's just really strange and weird. Either way, that is allegedly how they met and just some things that I've heard about. It's also important to note that everybody on Tiger King is like the last season of The Bachelor for Pilot Peter, because they're all villains and everyone is pointing the finger at each other.
I never brought up a land. No, shut the up. You shut the up. Did it. There was people in that.
But they're literally all trash. So it's mainly best of a bad bunch, I guess you could say. So that was my personal take on Tiger King. I really hope you enjoy it. Leave your comments down below on what you think happened. If you did like it, please subscribe. I know I never make videos, but do it anyway. And throw me a like, and I will talk to you next time, probably with another Tiger King video because I filmed so much. Bye!